I never thought I'd be writing this story, but here I am at 48 trying to make sense of the past few months. My wife and I were married for 18 years, together for 20, with 3 amazing kids, 2 in college and our youngest who's 8. Life was good, or so I thought. 5 years ago, things started changing at home. My wife seemed to have this sudden spark of energy about life. Our relationship got more exciting. We were spending more time together, sending each other sweet messages throughout the day, just like when we first met. Looking back, I should have seen the warning signs. It started with subtle hints about trying new things in our relationship. Then came articles about open marriages in my email. I didn't think much of it at first, just brushed it off with noncommittal responses. But during a dinner date last October, everything changed. She brought up the idea of including someone else in our relationship. When I asked if she had someone specific in mind, she mentioned Marcus, a friend we'd known for years through her community work. I was furious. Not only had she already discussed this with him without me, but she'd been planning this behind my back. The drive home was silent, and the following weeks were terrible. The holidays that year were a mess, nobody ate much, and the tension in the house was unbearable. By February, we had a serious talk. She apologized, admitted it was poor judgment, and seemed to understand why I was upset about the dishonesty. Things slowly got back to normal, though our relationship wasn't as passionate as before. This year, my father passed away unexpectedly. I had to travel back home for what I thought would be a few days, but ended up staying for 6 weeks. Dealing with his death brought up old wounds about always being the reliable child, the second choice. While I was sorting through this emotional mess, I noticed my wife becoming distant, always on her phone or laptop. One night, after everyone was asleep, something made me check her old emails from 2017 to 2018. What I found shattered my world. The same flirty photos she'd been sending me during that exciting period had also been sent to Marcus. Their Facebook messages were full of hearts, good morning text, and flirting. They had regular video calls, and he was visiting her daily at her new business, supposedly to help and advise. I couldn't sleep that night. At 6 a.m., when she woke up and found me pacing, I showed her the evidence. Her first reaction was to throw up. When I asked why she hadn't told me about this 4 years ago, she had no answer. I told her I needed the day to think and left for work, my mind spinning with a realization that the woman I trusted for 2 decades had been living a double life. The support I received after sharing my story with friends was overwhelming. Several details needed clarification, like the early miscarriage she had in 2018, confirmed by hospital staff. Some friends suggested DNA testing for our kids. The thought had never crossed my mind before, but now every truth I believed was being questioned. Marcus was well-educated, charming, and respected in our community. He'd been divorced for about as long as we'd been married. He helped my wife with her small business venture, which gave him plenty of time alone. The business ran from late 2015 to early 2019, failed, probably because her focus was elsewhere. When I came home that evening, I found her on the couch, looking broken. I sat in a chair far from her and laid out the situation. I had one foot out the door, and my next steps would depend on her actions. I told her I wouldn't disappear without warning. I'd tell her directly if I decided to leave. I made it clear she was staying in the house only because I allowed it. We discussed telling the kids. She wanted to pass it off as our fight from 2018, but I reminded her how our teenager had stopped speaking to her then. I demanded a no-contact letter to Marcus and a written timeline of everything that happened. She needed to share all her passwords, though I'd already found her password list in her phone. At work the next day, I started going through their social media conversations. There's a pattern of daily flirting from January 2018 to June 2019. I found messages about their kisses and how they couldn't wait to see each other. One particular exchange was from when I was away with our younger kids. Later, there was a message from her saying they needed to keep things just about the project. When I got home and asked about the timeline, she said she'd work on it later. That was it for me. I texted my friend Raven about needing a place to stay, packed some basics, and told my wife I'd return when the timeline was complete. Within 40 minutes, she'd emailed me the first version. It took days of revisions to get the full story. Each version had inconsistencies, excuses, and apologies that made no sense. I created a month-by-month template from September 2017 to June 2022 for her to fill out. Finally, a clearer picture emerged. She'd started sending him intimate photos in September 2017, the same one she was sending me. After our big fight about opening the marriage, she briefly stopped contact but resumed in January 2018. Their first kiss was in March 2019, followed by more intimate encounters. I contacted Marcus with a timeline, suggesting we might file a misconduct complaint related to their community project. He immediately threw my wife under the bus, admitting she'd approached him first. He claimed he thought I might be open-minded and that they had a special connection because she understood his social issues. Their relationship had been on and off, mostly emotional, but sometimes physical, with him usually initiating. I consulted several lawyers about a postnuptial agreement. The most honest one told me it wouldn't make sense after such a long marriage. Between child support and other obligations, I'd lose half my paycheck anyway. He suggested spending the money on counseling instead of legal fees. The night before returning home, I stayed at Raven's place. We finished 3 bottles of wine, and my body reminded me I wasn't young anymore. Though she's attractive, I never considered anything. I respect our friendship too much. She made sure I ate and helped me process everything. I set clear conditions with my wife. First, she needed to get a job, no more living on my income while pursuing social causes. Second, we'd spend a year in both individual and couples counseling before considering reconciliation. Third, no physical contact. She'd move into our youngest room while I took the couch. Fourth, I might date casually during this year, but if she did the same, we'd go straight to separation. Fifth, I'd maintain dignity for our kids' sake, though I could have chosen a scorched earth approach. But the story got darker. I discovered Marcus had been working on my wife since 2014. This wasn't his first rodeo. He'd moved through different social circles, leaving broken marriages in his wake. He was ex-military intelligence, something we never knew. His approach was always the same: become the best friend, confidant, and adventure partner, then exploit weaknesses in marriages. By the time she suggested opening our marriage, they were already physical. He had plans for her marriage, introducing her to his swinger friends. Maybe she felt guilty. Maybe she snapped out of it when she broke it off after our fight. The affair faded with some emotional manipulation from him, though they maintained appearances until the pandemic, when she cut all contact. I had my first anxiety attack when she finally told me everything she was willing to share. I'm not sure about reconciliation, but I'm going through the motions while preparing for whatever comes next. The older kids are angrier at her than I am. They saw through her behavior during the affair, but couldn't understand it then. I set next Father's Day as our reconciliation deadline. My wife swears it was a mistake and she'll spend her life making it up to me. I have her written timeline and a letter stating this was her only affair and that I never abuse her or the kids. Copies are with my childhood friend and my lawyer. 7 months have passed since Discovery Day. I've learned that the cheating took away my right to make my own choices. Our old relationship is dead, but my wife seems genuinely remorseful and willing to work on a new one, unless she deserves an Oscar for her performance. The truth is, we both let our marriage grow stale. We avoided conflict instead of communicating. The affair was extreme, but we'd lost honest communication long before. I'm not reconciling with our old relationship. That's impossible. Instead, we're seeing if we can build something new. We're talking honestly now, dealing with difficult subjects. She's finally addressing her past trauma and PTSD. I don't hate her. I'm hurt and upset, but I see her as human with deep flaws, just like me. Everything is tentative, requiring discussion and mutual understanding. We have until Father's Day 2023 to decide our future. Whatever happens, I know I'll find happiness again. It just might not look like what I originally planned. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button to help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.